Holy hell! That's my camera rig. Whoa! Anyways, I guess I'll put it down like this. Alright. So it doesn't fall off. Let's turn off the music. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another week of ABAJAM Chronicles, reading from Two Families Lost in Time. And I hope you've had a great week, and I have. I've been really busy, actually. I do a lot of, like I said, moving trucks, driving for various production companies. On a sad note, one of our own was killed this week in an accident on one of the sets. You've probably heard about it on the news. But I won't go into that anymore. When you see the video, like I promised you, I would take a video of the backyard and give you a view of the garden and the pool. I did that, and the missus in the pool. You'll see that the missus is in the pool, and as I'm not, because I'm doing this video for you. As a matter of fact, let me bring it down a little bit, okay? Oh, that's a bit too much. Okay, now this is one of my favorite t-shirts when I went and visited the set of Murdoch Mysteries, one of my favorite TV shows. This here, you can see it, it's kind of tattered. It's my favorite hat. I'm going to have to get rid of it eventually. I got this from my oldest daughter when she was going to Waterloo University, going for her bachelor's degree. She's got her PhD now, but she got that from York. She's a professor, and I couldn't be any prouder of her or my son. He's a commercial pilot. And my youngest, she's an HR person working for some company in Toronto. I don't keep track. But aside from that, welcome to, I guess it would be, let me see now. Okay, it would be Chapter 7, A Close but All Too Brief Encounter. But before we get into that, well, I'm back. And thanks to the magic of video, you didn't see me leave. But I had to go upstairs and get myself a screwdriver. I'm going to need it. Anyways, so this week is going to be actually a short chapter read, which is good on the one hand because I did the video of the garden in the backyard. So let's get right into it. Chapter 7, A Close but All Too Brief Encounter. Now, remember last week when Albert was inside the alien spacecraft, you know, it's the last chapter, or the last paragraph, you know, well, let me see now, where would I have, okay, so, I'm thinking, suppose my hypothesis and deductions were actually correct, though I am definitely no NASA scientist, nor am I a marine biologist, but I'll have to swear these aliens are either exoskeletal, or that these eggs were similar to the protective suits our own astronauts wear. Once their internal atmosphere and pressure was lost, especially if their shell or suit got damaged during re-entry, it was painfully obvious their bodies turned to mush, just as ours might, or so I've been led to believe. But I have been known to be wrong on a few occasions, and yes, I have been. And again, you'll remember the picture from last week when he's inside the alien spacecraft, and he's making a mad dash for it. Anyways, Chapter 7. ... In my preoccupation studying that one particular egg, I regrettably failed to notice the hurried activity, well at the back of the chamber, of the one and only egg that was still intact. So I didn't check every egg in the carton. Sue me! The clue that prompted my suspicion that something might be amiss was when all of the plaques that were still mounted around me began to flicker and light up more brilliantly. Besides the myriad of brightly flickering colors, there was an increase in the humming noise emanating from the rear of the cavernous chamber that drew my attention to that area. It was at that moment I happened to observe one rather busy and solitary egg. Did I mention it was intact, as in not broken? So call me stupid. Oh shit, this is not good. Did I ever get caught off guard? Apparently, unbeknownst to me, that damn thing was alive all this time. In my indelibly flippant sense of humor, the thought occurred to me that in the movies, isn't this the scene where I'm supposed to get eaten? Fortunately, I wasn't within tentacle reach of this alien's reach. Or so I hoped. Besides, I could see it was clearly occupied in whatever task it was engaged in. I watched as all 5 of its tentacles worked at a fevered pace, plugging into whatever plaques still remained affixed to the walls. What I witnessed next completely startled, then terrified me. As it performed the task of plugging and unplugging, that egg thing glided across the floor in much similar manner as an electric bumper car might do in a county fair. This thing glided effortlessly over the floor, allowing it to easily access the otherwise out-of-reach wall plaques. This also meant it had easy access to me. Well, that shoots my octopus theory all to hell, I conceded, with more than just a little trepidation. The vision of speeding bumper cars immediately came to mind, and I realized it was time for me to make a hasty exit. In the very next instant, there came an explosion of blinding metallic sparks. It was abruptly followed by jets of pinkish foam and green mist flooding the chamber. Plaques were being blown from their mountings at an extremely dangerous velocity. I know, because I was almost knocked off my feet by a couple of them hurtling past me. It occurred to me that whatever that alien egg creature was, it was fully cognizant of its circumstances and deliberately orchestrating all this havoc, possibly directing this malicious action against me personally. 3 times I had to dodge flying plaques as they came whizzing at me from as many different directions. It was then that I came to the realization that these same colorful, seemingly innocuous wall plaques were in reality some kind of control mechanisms or control modules. At the same time I was ducking those ballistic toilet seats, I had to keep glancing back at the egg alien, watching with utter fascination how this one surviving creature manipulated those cable-like tentacles into the sockets with such incredible speed and robotic dexterity. Its tentacles literally floated through the air with a fluid adroitness that was truly mesmerizing. Too bad I couldn't stay for the whole show. By this time, it was clearly evident to me all this furious and destructive activity taking place around me could only mean one thing. This alien creature was setting into motion some kind of self-destruct sequence. The whole inside of the spacecraft was becoming a maelstrom of fiery sparks, small explosions, stifling, choking phosphoric gases, as well as dangerous flying debris. I might not have been on the menu, but I was on the galactic Titanic, and I did not feel like singing Near My God to Thee just at this moment. Adding to my dilemma, the whole inside area of the once vastly cavernous chamber now appeared to be contracting in on itself. Even those extra large eggs seemed to be shrinking in size. Either that or I was getting bigger. So, size does matter. My situation inside here had become desperate, if not downright perilous. Only in here there was no white rabbit for me to follow out. Frantically, I stumbled and crawled my way up to the window that I had entered by. The humming became more discernible as I neared the open window. The whole craft just shuddered violently. There was no mistaking that its engines, however powered, had now come to life. The craft began to right itself, all the while moving itself slowly towards the center of the lake. I could see the boys on shore waving their arms in a flurry and shouting to me something about the engines being turned on. "No kidding," I remarked loudly, though I doubted if they could hear me above the din. I desperately looked around me, shining my lantern in every direction. I needed proof, tangible evidence, that I was actually on board this spacecraft before it self-destructed. In what can only be interpreted as an irrational act of desperation, I ran back a short way into the bowels of the incredible shrinking alien spaceship. Amidst all the terrifying fury and commotion, I randomly scooped up the first 2 plaques I came upon, bolted back to the broken window, and vaulted myself through it. I had to leave my lantern behind. That could be easily replaced. As I sailed through the air, I sensed that everything in that spacecraft was somehow interconnected, a type of symbiosis existing between alien and machine. Where organic ended and the mechanical took over was still unclear to me. Little did I realize I was about to experience and come to understand that very interconnectivity. It seemed like it took forever to finally hit the cold, invigorating water. so long that I actually had time to adjust my hold on my two prizes, getting a firmer grip on them so as not to lose them when I landed hard, backward, into the water. My only two fears before contacting the water were swallowing some of that awful film on the surface, and that these plaques would dissolve in the water like opals do in wine. Only my first fear was realized. I gagged so hard when I resurfaced that I almost lost my grip on my two prizes. I had to seriously struggle at the first break just to stay afloat. Once I positioned myself onto my back, I utilized the plaques as side paddles. They enabled me to briskly swim my way back to shore and into the waiting arms of two very frantic boys. Without thinking, I readily passed the plaques off to them and then allowed them to assist me out of the murky, muddy water. Once out of the water, I sat down and took a well-deserved rest on a large nearby rock. And that ends the reading of this week's chapter 7. Next week, chapter 8, Only Time Will Tell. Now this is the point where I'm going to cut in or edit in the video of the backyard and garden. I hope you all really enjoy it. And at the same time, I'm going to turn on the outro music so that it'll basically lead you out as I'm showing you the garden. I hope you all have a great week and a great weekend. And I'm going to get myself into the pool now. So, until next week, have a wonderful week. Anyways, I did promise you all last week that I'd give you a tour of the backyard and garden. So, here we go, stepping out the side door. Here's the bottom deck garden. That's an old barbecue from when I moved here. We have the cherry tree right here, and we have see now, I think that's chives, right? That's a change tent for our swimming pool. Here's my supply of wood for my smoker. There's my apricot tree. I never got any apricots off it this year because the squirrels got them before I got them. That's my Texas trio. It's got a what they call a firebox on the right hand side. Then you have a smoker, and you also have a barbecue. That's our screened steel gazebo. It's a workout bag. There's the swimming pool. Here's the garden. That's the modular fencing that I built. Several different panels that you can actually dismantle the whole fence. Now we have our beans and tomatoes and, well, you name it, we're growing it. And of course up on the hill here we have our leeks and our garlic. Right up there is, beyond that steel barrier, is Highway 10. Canadian flag. Again, the gazebo. Take a quick walk over to the pool. Come on over to the pool, darling. This is our, see if I can get in close up there. There's Bacchus, okay, for god of wine. You can see got a lot of grapes hanging there. We're going to have a good crop of grapes this year. And what are these called again down here? Oh, a lot of currants. We're going to make some currant jam. Again, there's our pool. Another view of the garden, the hill, and that should suffice for now.